Yo, what's good everybody? My name is Jay Fatty. Welcome back to another video. We're going to be making another boom bap beat and I'm going to be talking about all sorts of arrangement tips, intro tips, and outro tips. So let's get right into it. If you want to sample the same song that I did, I'll link it in the description for you. So I'm just going to go up here in ARM FL Studio and record these chops in. All right, so we got the chops right. I'm just going to bring them to the playlist, right click, consolidate track, from track start, hit start. Let's see, I can get rid of this pattern. All right, now since we also I'm in FL Studio 21.2 beta, I'll link that down in the description. And also, if you haven't seen my last video where I go in depth and using stem separation and how to make dope sauce with that, you can check it out with the link in the top right now. Well, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click this. Let's do extract stems from sample. I'll just do all of it. We got our stems here. I'm just going to organize this a little bit. All right, so we got everything routed here. I'm going to just throw on, I'm not sure if I'm going to add drums. I probably will end up adding some drums onto this. But first, let's try to process these drums that are already here since we got the stems now. So let's just hear how the drums sound. All right, let's see. Let's hear it with everything. Yeah, I am going to end up adding some drums for sure. It's only going, that first part only going for 4 bars, then it breathes and lets the sample drums do its work for this bit. And then when it drops, we're gonna add another set of drums over here. So that's kind of how I go, especially if I'm making really quirky beats. Like I'm really following the sample. It's all a process and it's all like, it's different for each beat, but there's almost the same principles apply, if you will. And you see here with this, the way this sample is and the way that I did it, I could put it on grid, but it would kind of just ruin the humanization, if that's a word, or the humanize effect. So I'm just going to move over my drums here. So I can hold shift and use the middle mouse button, just move it over and line it up with the other drums here that you can see. We're just using the sample drums as a guide. Hear how that's on point with those drums? Now with the sample. And just to add little flair or whatever weirdness, we'll just have that last bit just go 3 times. Like, you can even do something like that. Anytime you want to move stuff off grid, you can make sure you go in none, but you can also hold shift and this middle mouse button and move the waveform there so you can get where you want it. Like I wanted that start of the transient right there for all of it. Otherwise it has that little dip and we don't want that. So that's like the core of the beat, right? For the most part, we still actually, let's do this real quick. Let's add swing to these drums. Set swing mix 75. Let's see. Start with the first pattern here and just bring the swing up. You see how I use the drums at some parts, they're together to really shine, but towards the end of the pattern here, I didn't complete it by adding more drums. I let the drums of the sample shine. So if we just listen to the drums and bass. So I'm gonna go in here and do a little bit of EQing on this sample. And the drums, because that crash is crazy. So what I'm also gonna do is go through these drums. If you've seen my videos, you've seen me do this before. Just do an Alt-R, randomizer comes up. If the pattern comes up like this, just take it off and let's go to the levels and mess with the velocity. You can go through these seeds to get different changes in the velocity, but I'm gonna keep it on this one, hit accept, and then press K to go to the next pattern and do the same thing. Press K, next pattern, so on and so forth. I'm gonna do this for all of my drums, just really randomize them. Let's actually also bring these drums into the mixer and right click, route to this track only on the drum bus, because we have some RC20 here. Let's mess with it. And it's like hot sauce. Fruity Love Filter, I put that ish on everything. Go down here, PC low pass, where is it? PC low pass plus phaser, that's that sauce, boy. Put that on my master. As long as it's above all of the mastering effects, you're good. All right, so we're gonna highlight the whole thing and just do a Control B. As long as you're not highlighted on the bar up here, like, you know, how it's highlighted like that, because if you do that, it's just gonna do the whole thing that you have highlighted, and it won't always be right. So just make sure it's not highlighted like this. Just make sure you highlight all of the parts by Control left click and dragging, and then a Control B. And it's going to put it right at the end where we need it. All right, so here's another arrangement tip. The second part that it comes in when it loops, I actually want this part it should go twice. It should be longer than the first bit, you know, just, you know, have a little difference the second time. So I'm going to drag this out. Once again, as long as it's not highlighted up here, we'll just do a Control left click and drag, Control B, and let's see if that's right. Yeah, maybe I'll even take the drums out for a second, have a moment. Now, I'm on none up here on the magnet, so I did a control left click and drag to highlight this part of the beat, and I'm gonna bring it back and attach it. Just like that. Zoom in here by middle mousing on the black bar, and you can really attach it where it needs to be. So next we're going to get into the intro and outro. So we could keep it simple as an intro and just do something like the stutter effect, which we already have some stutter chops right here. I'm just going to go in there, zoom, shift left click to copy that, bring it over here to the front, and we'll do that control B, just like so. And then we're going to drag this back, connect it. And we can manipulate this. So take one of these, make it unique, hold shift, right click, make unique as sample, and we'll drag it out. And then we'll drag it out just like so. So we might need some kind of rhythm in that, all right? So it's already kind of dope. You can keep it like that, but let's add some kind of rhythm in this stutter. So we can do something like that where we have it initially going and then it stutters into something. That kind of intro is dope because it gives off the essence of what the beat really is going to be like. So that's probably the intro that I'm going to keep it as. To show you other ways to intro and outro your beats, let's add a new arrangement. So we'll go up here. I'm going to rename this one as main. All right. And I'll click it again and do clone and rename this one as other. And I can mess with this arrangement, do all sorts of stuff. I go back to main, it'll keep what I already have. So that's pretty cool. So I just undid that and let's go back to other and let's mess with this. I'll show you some other intros. So we could do one that's like a pitch shifter effect. I'm gonna drag this out to 5 bars. And then I copied over the main instruments, 4 bars here. And we're gonna right click it, make unique as sample, and I'll normalize it. And we're gonna put on the master, we'll just throw on a gross beat. And it's fine as long as it's above your mastering effects, because your mastering effects will be down here, so put it above it and it's fine. We're gonna go over to the pitch shifter, and I like -12. So we can have it do something like that. And I could either automate this knob right here or the actual mix knob, which is over here. So that's what we use as the mix knob. I'm going to put an empty pattern down. And we'll go to the mix knob, right click on the recording button, make sure notes and automation is on, and left click, and let's automate this. And now we got so that would be the pitch shifter effect. So this next one is simple. You could add a fruity love filter There's all sorts of presets in here. You could go to that PC low pass plus phaser and keep something like that. And then what we just did, you can automate that in. For example, throw an empty pattern, drag it out, arm the recording here, and go back into the love filter, and we'll start low here on the cutoff. You do something like that. I'll mess with these settings a little bit. And then we'll also highlight that area and bring the mix knob down, because if we don't do that, it'll keep the love filter on. And if we only want it for the outro, you know, we got to do something like this. Right click points in, drag the tension knob up. The same thing here. Just point out a little bit more. And now we got this. Now this next one you could do is really interesting. What I would call it is like in a bathroom at a party effect. It's essentially going to sound like you're in some other room while the music's playing in the other room, if that makes sense. And it can be a really cool effect. So we'll highlight this first area. We're going to want to throw a couple things on the master. Once again, throw it above your mastering effects. I don't want to hear anybody in the comments say, you can't put effects on the master, because you can, as long as they're above your mastering effects. All right, so first we'll throw on a Lux Verb. Well, actually, first we'll throw on an EQ, because we're going to want to take some of these frequencies out. You could either do an EQ or a love filter or some kind of filter, but an EQ seems to be the easiest for me. We'll do some kind of band pass like this, where it's doing a low pass and a high pass. We might even want to click this and just do like the cuts like this. We'll have a little bit more low end, because if you think about it, the low end is really going to be what's traveling the most to the next room. Because low frequencies are strong. So we'll do something like that. Then we'll add a reverb plugin. I'm just going to do Lux Verb because it's fire. And you can do all sorts of presets. I'll just do some kind of plate preset. And then we'll do some kind of volume effect. We'll create an automation clip on the master volume here and have it start low and kind of. That's also what you want to do, is automate these other effects. We'll bring the mix knobs down, just like so. Create automation clips, and just like before, we want to tell FL Studio to only have this happen during the intro. You can even have these fade out as well and do some kind of incline like this. It's very similar to the love filter effect, but if you do it right, or if you use a certain reverb, like we use plate reverb, but we could change it to some kind of like room or hall reverb. So it really depends on how you mess with the reverb to get the kind of sound you want. All right, so now we got some outro ideas here. So all of the intro ones that we just talked about, you can use for the outro most definitely, but you know, they're interchangeable. It just depends on the beat. So one kind of way you can outro your beats is using a slow triplet or halftime or something like that. On a beat like this that's kind of off grid, it's not going to work right. So let me go to a beat that I did it recently on, which is this royalty beat. So I'll just start it right here and you can hear how it transitions into the outro. So that's all that outro is this halftime. I put it on 1.5x and 1/8 loop. And it really gives it that swingy vibe and halftimey feel at the end there. And you can automate that to outro out. And you can automate that to go out with your volume here. That's another thing I would recommend with outros, especially, is you can take you can have it go for like 8 bars. For the first 4 bars, just have it be the instruments, especially if you're doing this halftime switch, because it'll just be the instruments. They'll get a feel for what's coming, and then that last outro bit will be with the drums, and it's just another last moment in the beat, and I really think it adds sauce. So another way you could outro your beat is some kind of sting ending. So if we listen to this one, we could just have it completely just stop after. Let's hear it. That right there wouldn't necessarily be a sting ending, but you could have it just kind of stop like that. But to get a sting ending, we would delete this and really have it. Let's listen again. So right here, about 2 bars, we're going to actually create automation clip on the volume. We're not going to have it completely fade out. It's just to really tell FL Studio when we want the song to end. So if we listen, that's kind of a sting ending, but you really would want it to end on like a singular note or hit. Something like that. And you could even add reverb on the last hits and kind of drag that reverb out. But that's really what a sting ending is a final note that's just hit. And then it just rings out until it's done, until the sound fades out naturally, if you will. You're going to find a lot of sting endings and like music synchronization stuff. But if you would like me to do another video talking about ways to intro and outro, let me know in the comments. If this video brought you value, make sure you leave a like, hit subscribe, and hit the little bell. And if you need some melodies to mess with and chop up, you can check the link in the first pinned comment and in the description. I just dropped a sample pack with the homie. I'd really appreciate it if you check it out. There's a free version of the pack you can try before you buy. So if you were interested in that, make sure you check out the link. Much love, everybody. Make sure you stay safe, stay striving, and always be getting it. Peace.